What's going on, guys? MMuniz here, and Monty. And in today's video, we're going to discuss how to invest for your children. Now, there are a lot of investment account options you have as a parent to set your kids up for success. And in this video, we're going to go over 3 of them. Now, these 3 accounts are going to be a Custodial Roth IRA. We're going to talk about a 529 education savings plan. And we're also going to go over an individual brokerage account for that child. And at the end of this video, I'm going to talk about what my wife and I are currently doing for our daughter, Miss Maxine, the fabulous queen. But before we go into the video, I do have to say that this video is not financial advice. This video is just my opinion, and it's up to you guys to do your own research to best set your family up for success. So with that being said, let's get right into the video. Now, there is one last thing that I do need to say that deals with, setting your kids up for financial success in the future. Before you do that, you need to make sure that you are set up for your own financial future. I don't remember where I heard this from, but I did hear recently that it's almost like being on an airplane if the airplane was crashing. The first thing that they have you do is they actually have you put your mask on before you help someone else. The number one thing you can give your kids is making sure that you aren't going to be a financial burden on them in their future. So make sure you take care of yourself and then move on to helping your children. So the first account we're going to discuss is going to be the Custodial Roth IRA. Now, this is an account that I actually don't take advantage of for my daughter. I may in the future, but right now it doesn't apply to us. And that's because in order to have one of these accounts, the child needs to have earned income. Now, there are ways around this and certain loopholes. I recommend you speak with an actual tax advisor or an accountant on this, but I've heard of people using baby modeling or lawn mowing or maybe detailing your car. However they can make earned income and claim it as taxes, that's up to you guys. But basically, that's the key. It's a Roth IRA for a minor, but they have to have earned income. The maximum contribution for this is going to be $6,000 a year currently, or $6,500 in 2023, or the total amount of earned income they've had, whichever is lesser of the two. So if they've made $4,000, then you can only contribute $4,000 within that year. But basically, a Custodial Roth IRA is going to be very similar to a Roth IRA. It's going to have all the same things where you put it in after taxes, and it's going to grow tax-free, and it's going to be an account for them in retirement. However, just like a Roth IRA, you can actually pull out money, your actual contributions, without facing a penalty. Now, you can't pull out the entire account. You can't pull out your earnings. Otherwise, you're going to face penalties unless you meet certain requirements. One of those things that you can pull out money for that would meet those requirements without a 10% penalty is going to be for educational expenses. However, another thing you can pull out for, and this will actually give you the tax advantage and no penalty, this is going to be first-time home buyers. Now, other than the earned income portion, the other issue with the Custodial IRA account that I'm personally not a fan of is once the kid turns 18 or 21, depending on which state you're in, that account is now theirs. They're going to have to convert it to a Roth IRA. And depending on how much money you have in that account, I don't know about you guys, but when I was 18 years old, I don't know if I wanted that responsibility. Not every young adult is going to be ready to take on that money. What would happen if they just liquidated everything and then used it? They faced the penalty and paid their taxes, and then they just wasted all that money that you saved for their actual future. So I personally believe that I want to have a little bit of control on those finances, but some people may think that that's a bad thing. So that's going to be up to you guys if you think that's a good option for you and your family. But in summary, the key thing about a Custodial Roth IRA, the child needs earned income. You're going to put money in after tax into this account, and then it's going to grow tax-free. So, tax advantage accounts, that is the key to financial independence. Now, the next account we're going to discuss, and this is one that I do take advantage of, is going to be a 529 education savings plan or college savings. Now, there are 2 different options. One that deals with tuitions and how much inflation happens, which I don't recommend. And then there's the one where it's just an education savings account where you can invest the money inside that account. That's the one that I personally do for my daughter, Maxine. One quick note, though, is that these investment options are typically pretty limited. So you're going to find mutual funds, target date funds. You're not going to be able to just take that money and put it in something like Tesla. But you're going to have to do your own research on the certain account that you choose to figure that part out. But why would we want a 529 college savings plan? Well, if you think your kid is going to go to college and you want to help them pay for it, then this is a great account to take advantage of because you're going to put in money after tax and it's going to grow tax-free, just like your Roth IRA or the Custodial Roth IRA. The only difference is you don't need to wait till you're 59 and a half. You can use this money and pull it out penalty-free, tax-free for any qualified educational expenses. And this actually includes a lot of things, not just tuition. You can do K through 12 tuition, college tuition, but you get room and board, meal plans, books, even some sorts of technology like a laptop can qualify, but there are certain requirements that you have to meet in order to do that. Now, a cool thing about the 529 is you could actually change the beneficiary of this account. You can open up this account for yourself if you're saving for your own college, and then maybe you end up paying for your education expenses and you want to then give it to your kid. You can change the beneficiary to that child and it's going to be for their future now. Or perhaps your kid isn't going to go to college and you have another kid, and you can move the money around. So you're not set to one person, which is pretty good. One thing to note about the 529 plan though is there is a penalty if you pull out the money for non-education expenses. So if the only savings account that you have for your kid's future is a 529 and they decide to not go to college, then they're going to be facing a penalty when they withdraw that money, or you yourself if you're withdrawing that money because it's not going to be used for college. Now, one question a lot of people have is, should you be worried about investing too much money into the 529 account? Because then that leftover money is then going to face the 10% penalty. I would say that unless you plan on having hundreds of thousands of dollars in this account, that's not going to be an issue. Typical college is going to cost you in the six figures if you're going more than 4 years. So if your kid's going to be a lawyer or a doctor or an engineer, something along those lines, they're going to need to spend a lot of money if they're not getting scholarships or grants in order to pay for college. So I don't really think this is an issue. If you start getting a ton of money in there, then you can start looking at other options, and that's what's going to bring us into number 3, and another one that I take advantage of. And there is one last benefit that I forgot to mention, and that's because it only applies to certain states. But the cool thing about a 529 savings plan is the money that you put in for the beneficiary is actually tax deductible within certain states. One of those is New York State. So if I was to put in $5,000 as an individual, that would be the maximum tax deduction that I can get off of my personal taxes. So I don't have to pay taxes on that $5,000, and also it's going to grow tax-free. So getting a lot of tax advantages with an account like this. Just make sure you check which states you're in to see if that qualifies for you. And now for the third option. Now, these aren't the only 3 options you have. These are just the ones that I'm going to talk about in this video today. So this option is my personal favorite, which is actually just an individual brokerage account. And my wife and I don't really see eye to eye on this, but we work together, we're a team, so we're going to find some compromise when it comes to this. And the reason for that is with the individual brokerage account, you don't have to give this money to your child at the age of 18. It's not their money. You still control all of the investments, you control all of the funds, and it's up to you or you and your wife or spouse to determine what you want to give that money for. So maybe you're holding on to that money for when your kid turns 16 and they need a car, or they're buying their first home, or perhaps you want to help them with their wedding. There's a lot of things that come up in people's lives that require a lot of money that they may not have. Maybe they come across some rough times and they need extra money. This is going to be an account that you have where you're able to help them out. A couple things of note with an individual brokerage account though is you're not going to have the tax advantages, and when you do pull out that money, let's just say you pull out $10,000 to help them with their first car, you're going to owe the taxes on that, whether it's long-term capital gains or whatever, you're going to owe those taxes. Your kid's not going to owe those taxes, so just make sure you're keeping that in mind. But once again, I like this option because it allows me to be the one in control of the finances until I think that the child is ready to take on that responsibility. With a lot of money comes a lot of responsibility, so that's just my opinion. I told you guys at the end of this video, I would go over what I'm personally doing, what my wife and I are doing for our kids. And right now, all we're doing is taking advantage of the 529 savings plan, and we're also doing an individual brokerage account for our daughter, Maxine. So we put in the exact same amount into both accounts every month, and they're both gonna grow. So they're gonna be pretty close in the total amount within each, and obviously the 529 is gonna be used for education, but then we're also going to have that individual brokerage account to help with maybe their first car or her wedding or whatever it is that she's going to need money for in the future. But this is a very small portion. I'm not rich, my wife is not rich, so we're only putting in small contributions on a monthly basis because we need to make sure that we are set up for our own financial independence in the future as well. Because remember, that's the key. So I want to hear from you guys. Do you do anything differently for your kids? Did you learn anything? Put it down in the comments below. I'm always trying to learn more, and I always do my best to comment on every single video and all of my videos. If you haven't already, make sure you smash the like button down below, subscribe to the channel. We do weekly videos on anything related to personal finance or fitness. And with that said, I hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.